You, especially this year. This year they've got so much to do. It was always a long list of things to do, especially at the very beginning of the school year. Many of us are going to school for the first time for this school year. This week is an exciting time, but it's also very challenging. And so we need to be very appreciative this year of our teachers. I have to say that I think we are going to be needing more teachers. I don't think that there's a shortage, but I do think that we're going to be on the phone and collecting resumes and sending out notices that teachers are wanted, because it's just some trying times right now with all the things that teachers have to do. We're going to add on taking temperature checks, cleaning in between every period, making sure that students have their mask on. I'm going to try to get through this episode without saying anything about spatial distancing or wearing a face mask, because hopefully you know that if you are in a crowd of people, you should have the mask on. And I'm going to try not to say anything else about that. I did see where Georgia universities, yes, I'm talking about Georgia again, but they went back to school a couple of weeks before we did in North Carolina. So I'm learning some things about what's going on there. And many of the universities have said as of this week, they will take all of the classes and put them online. And the reason being is because they've had several students to test positive for COVID-19. Also, I saw just recently, I'm not sure if it was yesterday or day before, but I saw recently where UNC here in North Carolina said that they would move their classes to online learning. I have taught online learning, and let me tell you that it's a big difference between having just a couple of classes with online and then, your regular traditional classes. We're talking about moving all of your instruction to an online platform. And so many of us, for the first time, may be becoming online developers. We're becoming creative in an environment that maybe we weren't really prepared for last year to be creative, because you have to have class lessons differentiated. You have to keep them engaged. And sometimes, you've got to condense, because you can't expect a student to stay online all day, and hopefully you're not the last class of the day, because even if it's face-to-face, the last class of the day is always a struggle. I want to go to my callers, and I have two guests that I want to get in on the program for today. I have a parent with school-age children, and if you'd like to comment, you too can also call in. The number is 704-873-1400 here at WSIC. But first, let me go to my educator. She is an expert in instructional technology and very familiar with online learning, Dr. Starla Townsend. Starla, are you there?
Yes, good evening. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. It's good to hear your voice. Now, let me tell you, Starla, that there are so many platforms out there. I can't name them all, but I just wanted to let you know that I know a little bit. There's Google Classroom, there's Microsoft Teams, there's Verge. Infinite Campus was one that I used a lot. And some of the platforms have really progressed in the last few years. So the first thing I want to talk to you about are, what are some of the tools of a good online learning platform?
Well, Dr. Mozer, as you said, there are a lot of different platforms that are available, and especially, I would say, even in the last year, we have seen a lot of advancement. I think the biggest thing that we've seen is just being able to communicate with parents. Most of the platforms, of course, have places for you to upload assignments, and students can look at what teachers want them to grab, the resources for learning. Video is now a big part, especially now with the remote learning aspect of it. But I think most importantly is teachers want to be able to communicate with their parents, because we need parents as partners when students are learning at home, whether it's homework or remote learning. So I think for most educators, most teachers, learning how to include parents, and parents learning to be involved, because education is a lot different than it was just maybe a year or two ago. Absolutely, in the last 6 months.
And I think when we look back on how we did some of the online learning just a couple of years ago, it was mostly students who were already accustomed to online learning. And so there wasn't this big push to communicate with parents. But let me also say that when we're talking about some of the things that parents are talking about, I like to kind of stay with what teachers are talking about. But when we talk about what parents are talking about, I've heard some complaints that they say that, oh, that online learning is just some worksheets and some videos. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure, who's doing that. But can you give us a description of what some general classes are? I know that different subjects may be different. English may be different from science. But what are some of the general things that parents should be able to say if or not this is a good course? So, what should be on that subject area specifically, if you can give us some examples?
And that's a very good question, and one I think that parents need to be aware of. Let me first say that teachers are just learning, a lot of teachers are just learning to conduct class online. For most of our teachers now that are teaching, they have been teaching, 10, 20 years in a face-to-face classroom. So this is new for many of them. Mm-hmm. Even college professors are still learning how to transition to the online learning. But theoretically, a really good online course, depending on age, is going to have students that are in charge, if you will, of their learning. It should not be, here's a worksheet, students are going to sit down and do the worksheet, turn it back in, the teacher checks it, and then sends out another worksheet.
And watch a video.
Right. And basically, what we want to see in an online course are avenues for students to create. And I think I heard you say something about that a little earlier. One of the things that employers that are hiring for 21st century jobs, they're looking for employees that not necessarily know how to get online and play games and all this wonderful stuff, but are actually able to use the technology to create, to be innovative. So instead of giving a worksheet or letting the teacher play with the technology, meaning letting the teacher create the videos or letting the teacher show students how to use the technology to do fun things, we want to give the concept to the student and then ask the student to use some of this technology that we have before us to actually create and do something. And it's very possible, we see it every day with our students. There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't see something on TV or in some type of media where we have students that have done something really great and entrepreneurial that, we didn't think of, and we think, wow. So, yeah, we want to see students do the work. As teachers, we want to be facilitators.
I love it when students take on the responsibility of their learning and come up with a creative way to do their assignment, take that extra step. And I think that some students, again, if they are more accustomed to the online learning platform, they're doing that as a natural custom going straight into the school year. But what about students that need some extra help? Are there resources available for parents and the students?
Well, honestly, as I said, this is really new for all of us. And the first thing I want to say, not only to teachers, but to parents and students, is number one, just be patient and realize that just as you probably are a little frustrated, so are your teachers and administrators and all those people involved with educating your students. But the main thing that we need to do, and I'm a parent, and I have one of those students who he's not going to sit down and stare at a computer and do schoolwork. So we have to provide the structure as parents, and I know you're saying, oh, my gosh, but I have a job and I have this. I liken it to this. When my child played basketball, 7th and 8th grade intramural sports and all that wonderful stuff, I had to leave work, come home, pick him up, take him to practice, and I had to learn to use the community of parents that were around us to help me to transport, to help me to do snacks or whatever. And it's kind of the same thing here. We have to use our community of other
Online.
families. Yeah, and we have to reach out because the one thing that our students are going to need is our support.
Yeah.
And
Send an email.
we
You
yeah,
know.
and we have to be active. And it's hard. I get it. You're tired. Your kids are, they're all over the, but we really have to use this opportunity to be there for them and to support, and to model. Find a room or area in your home where it's dedicated to your schoolwork. And when you're there, there's no gaming, there's no, anything
Really.
that's a distractor.
So, and I've seen some very cute emojis, teachers having
Oh,
their
yeah.
class space looking just like their actual physical
Yeah.
rooms. Some of the teachers are doing some wonderful things. And I'm not,
Absolutely.
putting down teachers who, if you've not done all of that. But here's my
Mm-hmm.
question for you, Starla. If and when, because I did teach online, and what I really appreciated about online learning was that the student could set their own pace. If they wanted to get ahead and finish up, online learning allowed for that. And it also allowed for a student that needed to take more time, that needed to repeat some of the content. So I'd like that. So with every student pretty much online right now, what can we expect for, time-wise? How should a parent structure how much time is a student expected to be live on a class and then going back to actually do the assignments on their own? I just can't see a student online for 12 hours,
No,
What's typical?
absolutely not. Your younger students, maybe let's say kindergarten, maybe preschool, kindergarten, I would think no more than 2 to 3 hours a day, and that's probably pushing it. And I don't mean straight 2 or 3 hours. I mean, maybe 30 minutes we're going to meet for this, and then we're going to have some downtime for snack and play, and maybe we'll meet again for, another session 2 or 3 hours later. So we're breaking that up through the day. Of course, your older students should be able to attend a lot more, and so would be expected to maybe be online synchronously with their teachers or facilitators at least 3 to 4 hours a
Okay,
day.
now when you say synchronously, you mean that it's live with the students and the teacher, not just
Right.
online into my class work, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Because remember, even though we're virtual, students still have to get some type of instruction and review and be able to ask questions. So as the teacher, we're going to need maybe 30 to 45 minutes for our math, maybe 30 to 45 minutes for science or what have you. And then I'm going to give you instruction and assignments that will allow you to go out of the virtual setting and create and come up with work that shows me that you understand what we've discussed. But here's another point I like to make, Dr. Mozer.
Please.
One of the things when I did teach high school, I taught high school, and I had a group of virtual learners or online learners. One of the things that was really frustrating is we don't give our children an opportunity to learn how to be a virtual learner. And if a course is designed where there's nothing but reading and, as you said, videos, for I would say 95% of our students, that is not going to work. So you do have, as a teacher, you do have to find ways to be creative and allow them to, as I said earlier, play with the technology and be creative.
Yeah, lots
Because
of
if they're not
projects.
Mhm.
Build up something. Yes.
Right.
I'm with you there. Well, Dr.
Yeah.
Starla Townsend, that's a wonderful advice. We appreciate you joining us. Please come back to Teacher Talk really soon. We want to check back with you because this is a virtual year. It's your year, Dr. Starla.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you. Let me go to a parent. I believe I have Baron Brown on the line. Hello, Baron?
Yeah.
Oh, good. You're
How are you?
there? I'm good. You're a parent and you have young children?
Yes, I do. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old
Oh, wow. That's very young.
daughter.
So
Yeah.
are your kids, are your toddlers, are your preschoolers, I mean, are they going face to face or are they online?
No, well, our situation has changed a little with the COVID
Mm-hmm.
because my wife is a pediatrician, so she would normally be outside of the home.
Mm-hmm.
My 8-year-old has been homeschooling for about the past
Oh, 8
2 years.
years old. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because of health issues and having all kind of allergies. And when she was in school, she became hospitalized, and we had to pull her out.
I'm so
So
sorry. Now, so you have both of yours, is it a son and a daughter or two daughters?
two daughters.
Two daughters. So you've been homeschooling the one daughter and now you have both daughters at home. Is that what you said?
Yes, but I am homeschooling because just the nature of how we do things here. Gracie, the 4-year-old, she's been homeschooled from day one.
I
So
love homeschooling. And I
yeah,
really
yeah.
think that
So
with this pandemic, especially for very young children, that homeschooling is the way to go. Now, sometimes people get homeschooling and virtual learning a little bit mixed up. So when we talk about homeschooling, it's the parents that are responsible, or either they have a tutor that comes in and helps with the curriculum that is not a part of a school per se. How did I do with that definition?
yeah, I would say that's accurate.
Oh,
That's
wonderful.
accurate.
And so you've been homeschooling. Well, let me ask you, what made you decide to do the homeschooling initially?
One of the reasons, the main reason is I don't feel I'm not a big. Let's see. Let me see how I could say this. I just know Georgia's school system has areas of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I do.
Like
So I do
any
know.
state, pretty much.
Well, as far as the rankings of states,
Mm-hmm.
because I also have a 23-year-old son
Mm-hmm.
who is actually he's been accepted into he's pre-med and he's been accepted into the NIH program. So I've been going through
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
yes, I've been going through this for a while, and it was I'm not with his mother, but was always engaged with
Mm-hmm.
PTAs, and at one point in 3rd grade they were trying to put him in special ed. And
Really?
so on and so forth. So I've had a rough time, and it has made me acclimated to how they do things here in Georgia. And as far as the rankings, as far as where Georgia, the last time I checked, Georgia
Mm-hmm.
was in the bottom, like 10 out of
Okay, I'm losing you just a little bit. Don't move around with your phone if you're on your cell. I understand totally what you're saying as far as some of the schools, especially public schools. I'm a big fan of homeschooling, so you don't have to preach to the choir on that part. But I would like to know if this was something that you had to change your occupation. I believe you are a real estate investor, and you said that your wife is she a physician, a medical physician?
yes, she's a pediatrician, yeah.
And so you've always had the ability to maybe go to a higher end school, but homeschooling has so many benefits. Can you tell us about some of the benefits that were more personal to you?
And I think you used the right word right there. It's personal, and that's to me the one of the main positive attributes of homeschooling is that it's personal. So if I literally wake up today and I say that you know what I want to go over the multiplication table, the 9s and the 10s, I can literally do that and drill that in, in various different forms. And it's something that it's personal between me and my daughter. We come up with different ways on how we do it. But at the end of the day, she knows what 9 times 9 is, what 9 times 12 is.
Now, there are a number of resources available for homeschooling. Do you rely on any of that curriculum?
Yeah, we do. My wife has printed off quite a few things, and we get deliveries from Amazon constantly with different workbooks, Singapore style teaching and things like that. So
And
Yes.
I like
Is it?
homeschooling because I feel like it's not so regimented. Not to say that there's not some benefits in a regimented school environment, but you have to admit that there's something a little bit mean about making a kid wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and get on a bus at 7 and stay at school 7 or 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. What are some of the things that your child or your daughters like about homeschooling? Have you talked to them about maybe the possibility of going to a traditional school?
Oh, yes. And ironically enough, Layla, who is my 8-year-old daughter, she was supposed to go to a traditional school this fall.
Really?
And yeah, and the reason why was not because of for the educational purposes. Her mother and I, we decided that we felt that we want to get her more socially acclimated to have that social.
That is a
factor,
plus for the traditional school. Yeah.
and also go have some problems that she would have to figure out some solutions for with being in society with different races, different gender, and
Diversity.
people need diversity. So we wanted to introduce that to her, but that didn't happen because of this COVID.
Because of the COVID. So she's online.
Yeah, she's online.
I'll bet you have the cutest area in the house set up for learning, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're a parent where the entire environment.
Actually, we do.
You do?
Actually, we do. She has her own little mini office.
Nice. So can you give us a little? It's radio, so can you give us a little description of it, maybe?
Well, she has there's a built-in desk.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little nook. It has a closed door, so you can open and close the door, and it has a built-in desk. And there's affirmations posted all over the wall, some that she has created and some that we've purchased. And the computer, the laptop is there, the calculator is there, her arts and craft supplies.
Well, we can tell that you really value, and you're doing a wonderful job. You've had great success with all of your children, and we're so happy to talk with you here on Teacher Talk. Thank you so much for calling in and joining us. Before I let you go, let me ask you this. If you were not able to work at home, because you kind of work for yourself, you're a real estate investor.
Yes, I'm a realtor and investor consultant, correct.
Okay, so you kind of had more of the leeway to also work at home. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yes, after the birth of the Gracie, the 4-year-old, yes.
Okay.
It was kind of...
Well, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you here on Teacher Talk. We like to talk about what parents talk about, but mostly we talk about what teachers talk about. Please remember to go online to lisamozer.com. We have our peer-to-peer support groups on Tuesday at 7 p.m. You're going to love talking about some of the anxiety solutions to stress. We'll be back next Monday, and also join me on Tuesday at 11:30, where we're going to talk with another parent and also another technology specialist about the first days of school. We'll be there. Join us.
This is News Talk 105.9 Lake Norman, 100.7 Greater Statesville, WSIC, where Troutman turns first for breaking news and severe weather alerts.
Before you throw away those unused medicines, stop.
There are better ways to dispose of your unused meds to protect the ones you love.
To find a medicine disposal site near you, visit www.safe.pharmacy, a public service message from the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy.
Good morning. This is Margaret Beveridge with your latest news. Iredell County Animal Services and Control has confirmed a case of rabies. This case involves a raccoon that tested positive for rabies on Irvin Road off River Highway in Mooresville. Please avoid all contact with all wild or stray animals. All dogs, cats, and ferrets are required by state law to be vaccinated at the age of 3 months. Pets or stray animals with suspected exposure to rabies should be reported to the Iredell County Animal Services and Control at 704-878-5335. Iredell County Commissioner Gene Haupt was reelected last Friday by his peers of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners to represent District 12 through 2022. Haupt says he'll make